Hey everybody, my name is Francisco Guerrero and I'm going to be doing my cultural presentation over Germany. Uh, According to worldatlas.com from April 2017, Germany is the 7th largest European country, and from the north to the south the topography changes drastically. The North European plain, which is right here, it extends across the northern reaches of the country. It's mostly flat, lowland terrain with lots of bogs, rivers, and streams, and most of it's used for farmland. The Rügen is right here. It's Germany's largest island. It has lots of forests and is pretty hilly with steep cliffs and sandy beaches. And central Germany here, the land rises into forested hilly areas. Some of the major landforms are the volcanic Harz Mountains and the thickly wooded Rothaargebirge Mountains. And in the south, most of the land is hilly with heavily forested mountains. The Bavarian Alps are the highest mountains in Germany. They stretch from the southern border with Austria. And then the Zugspitze, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, is Germany's highest point, which is right here. The country has dozens of rivers. The longest river in Germany is the Rhine. It's about 820 miles. And across Germany there's lots of canals. Lots of canals join the rivers, creating thousands of miles of interconnecting waterways. Most of the canals are used for commercial and local traffic and by large fleets of cruising riverboats and charter barges. The German family structure. The average household size in Germany has been declining for decades. According to data from the Federal Statistics Office obtained in a microcensus in 2000, only about 0.8% of all households have 3 or more generations in them. 3 generations being parents, grandparents, and children. About 36.1% are single-person households, and about 1/3 of all the residential buildings are single-family homes. According to the 2016 CIA World Factbook, Germany has one of the lowest birth rates in Europe, with about 1.44 children being born per woman, making the average number of children 1 or 2 in a typical family. As for cousins and extended families, the Culture Atlas 2016 states that nuclear families are the most common. Extended families living in the same house is very rare. As for extended families living next to each other, you can't really generalize that. There are lots of different people, and there are lots of different living situations and family forms becoming more popular. The traditional role of women in the past was to raise children, go to church, cook food, and deal with clothes, but nowadays there have been lots of advances on women's rights. Just like many modernized countries, women are free to do whatever they want. According to a Slate article titled "More Young Adults Are Living with Their Parents," published in June 2016, 71% of German women and 83% of men between ages 18 and 24 live at home. Once they get near their 30s, those numbers start going down to about 9% of women and 18% of men. But that's because almost half of the demographics married or living together. German girls aren't really required to live at home until they get married. It's just a smarter and cheaper thing to do. It's the same thing with the young men. And saving money is praktisch, or practical as the Germans refer to, and it's one of their highest compliments. Similar to lots of places here in the US, if the girls don't move out, they're free to stay with their parents until they can afford to live on their own. The cultural dress in Germany. AboutGermany.org in 2017 states that in earlier times, women wore a dirndl, pictured here on the left, which was a folk dress that had a full skirt, blouse, and apron. Sometimes it was sleeveless and worn with a cotton and lace blouse. Sometimes it had sleeves and a high neck. Hats were usually fancy and expensive and were different depending on the region. And then according to GermanCulture.com in 2017, the placement of the knot on the apron showed if they were married or not. For example, if the knot was tied on the woman's left side, it indicated that she was single. If it was tied on the right, it indicated that she was married or engaged or taken. And if they tied the knot in the front and center, it meant she was a virgin. And if they tied it behind the back, it indicated that she was a widow. Men's traditional clothing is made from leather, linen, and wool. The lederhosen, which was the knee-length trousers or short pants, were made from leather, and they're worn with rustic-looking shoes and wool socks. Jackets and hats were different depending on the region and the occasion. Nowadays, traditional clothing is known as tracht, or T-R-A-C-H-T, tracht. And people usually wear this style of clothing for occasions like weddings and festivals. But lots of manufacturers still produce this clothing because people find them fun to wear, and they're somewhat coming back into style. And here's a picture of some lederhosen and another dirndl. Dirndl on the left here and lederhosen on the right over here. Some more cultural dress. AboutGermany.org in 2017 states that women's hats are varied according to the region. Here's some examples. On the left, you can see Goldhaben, which was usually worn in Upper Austria. And then on the right, you can see Ballenhut, which came from the Black Forest region. Both of these types of hats were usually worn on festive occasions. And this is some traditional clothing, like the ones you've seen in the previous slides, was what everyone would be wearing about 100 years ago. But these are some images of modern clothing, modern German clothing. You can see that they're pretty similar to modern fashion in the US. Even the business style is just about the same, and then modern fashion trends here. Some of the dance styles in Germany. One of them is known as the Zweifacher, and according to GermanDance101.com in 2017, it's a dance mainly in Bavaria, and the name translates to pretty much twice or double the times. This can be kind of confusing because it doesn't really have to do with the melody or the rhythm of the dance. It's mostly because it refers to the fact that it's a couples dance, where both couples dance very close to each other, which is kind of weird. It's a really old dance, and there's probably at least 100 different tunes that the dance can be danced to. Here's an example. And another one is known as the Schussplattler. It's another type of dance that's also in Bavaria, and it's performed in traditional Bavarian costumes. During the dance, this was originally used to woo women into marrying a man. The men clap their hands, slap their thighs, and jump in along in the rhythm with the music. It can be pretty funny looking, and no one really knows why women were impressed with it back in the day. Here's an example. And then there's the maypole dance. The maypole dance isn't only known in Germany, but these types of dances happen in Germany every year. Most of the little villages are proud of the maypole dances and their traditions. These dances around the maypole differ from region to region. The most common one is the Bandlance, the dance of ribbons, and during that dance both men and women, or as many people are needed to do this, dance around the maypole, and in the process they bind together the ribbons that hang from the top of the maypole together. Here's an example of the maypole dance real quick.